that having her mother say that she's depressed shows that she's actually depressed? It could just be signs that she's misinterpreted.
That's true, but mothers, I mean, my mother knows a lot about me, so, like, maybe, and her mother, as it says in the book, is taking care of her for a really long time because of cancer, so she probably knows how she feels.
I think it's really good, strong that both of you, like, you're being skeptical, which is really good for a reader. Like, you want to try to ask yourself, why is the author choosing the words and choosing to put in the information in here she says. And it's also strong that you're pulling on your prior knowledge of, like, family relationship connections. If you look over at our character qualities poster, what's going to happen next year is their action prompt. Your 7th grade English teacher is going to add another category called indirect, what other people say about the character. And that's what your text evidence would fall into. And then you kind of have to ask yourself, like, how credible is so how credible is that mother's opinion, which is what you're doing. So that's awesome. And I like that you're using multiple quotes to really prove the trajectory of the character change. So that's a strong habit to get in terms of proving.
Like
What
when
did the rest of you say about the prompt?
like me and my dad, but
I kind of have to take Julian's side on this because I don't remember when because I kind of we didn't discuss this prompt yesterday, so I wasn't really prepared for what you guys had to say. But at one point, I think it said Hazel says that her mom she feels like she's too involved in her life. If a child feels like that, it's probably the parent probably knows a lot about them because they're always like in the child's business and hovering around them. And also spying on them, kind of. Yeah, like when she goes to the mall. Yes.
So your point about her being depressed was that, like, at the beginning she was depressed, and then she wasn't.
And then what brought about the change inside of her? What was it that made her no longer depressed anymore?
I think it's Augustus, because like she really liked him, and he was funny, and he had like a lot of like.
I actually don't think that Augustus made her happy from the moment. Well, not like after they got to know each other a little bit. Hazel decided that she liked him, but then I think it kind of, and she was happy for a period of time because of him, but then after I think that she kind of got sad again because she felt like she had to reject him and that she couldn't be happy because of her cancer, and she was a grenade. She wanted to minimize the casualties.
But then here, Augustus.
But then she allows him to love her.
And also I think it was sort of easier for her to, well, not easier exactly, but it sort of worked when she found out that he had cancer, because then she wasn't afraid that she was going to die on him as much, because they were both basically in the same
She
situation.
decided that she was gonna let herself love him before she knew it.
Yeah.
I was really hoping that somebody was going to bring up the grenade quote, because I feel like with this prompt, that is one of the strongest pieces of evidence. You kind of cited this whole path of her being depressed and then happy and then depressed again with Augustus's sickness. But even within that path, what you see is like depressed and, ooh, I'm excited I meet him. And then, oh, I can't love him because I don't want to hurt him. And then a sense of acceptance and I'm happy again. And then, so in a way, the fact that the path is like that, it's not just like, oh, I'm really happy for this portion, and then I'm so angry and depressed. How do you think that, why do you think the author chose to write it in that way? What does it do to the reader, credibility of the story?
I think someone doesn't like stay the same throughout the book. Like they don't say, like, oh, everything's cool and they just stay like that throughout. Like a real person, they change throughout what's happening to them.
It adds to the realism.
That's what I was going to say. And especially when you have like something like cancer. It's like if I knew that I was dying, I wouldn't be necessarily happy. So it makes it more realistic that they would have like short bursts of happiness and then sadness and then happiness and big like that.
And with such a battle with cancer, I think one would sometimes have moments where they really think that they're going to win because it's such it's such a strong battle that at some points you are going to be sad, but you're also going to feel this sense that you have to win, that
There's no other option.
right, and that you're destined to win.
Like it's like a war. It's like the doctors are saying, oh, you need to go to the hospitals, and like you lost that battle, and then they find something. It's like, oh, your cancer growth stopped today. It's like, yay, you won about this.
There's something you're not considering about the different cases of cancer within this book. Because like when you're diagnosed with cancer, you want to keep fighting, and there's going to be moments of like, I can do this, I'm fighting, I need to fight, and moments of I give up, this is too much, my body is turning against me. But what about some of their cancer cases? It's not like, what are the doctors saying about her cancer? About Hazel's cancer?
Saying that she's gonna die.
It's not a, like, if you're going to die, it's just a matter of when.
Yeah, so she probably wants to live as much as possible.
At some points she just gives up.
There's one thing I want to leave you thinking about as I go, and then if you could talk about it a little bit before you move to your second prompt response. I thought there's a sense of like irony, like an unexpected twist in the novel when Hazel, who's worried about being the grenade, is not the grenade after all, and it is Augustus. So Augustus literally becomes that grenade that can do the harm. So if you could just talk a little bit more about that, and maybe some of like Augustus's experiences dealing with love and loss, because he's got this other background character. So if you could talk a little bit about that before proceeding to your talk. Excellent.
She loved him, just wanted to take care of her because she liked him, and she was that kind of.
I think at first, Augustus, as he sort of said, he first noticed her because she looked like his old girlfriend. And then I think at first he felt pity for her, but then he began to like her. And then she felt like she was a grenade.
Can somebody emphasize for me what?
Well, yeah, so Justice Force, but I wonder why. Like, the author uses.
My fault. I wrote that like all the people like I mean family had like adventures in the beginning. Now he's like he got more emotional because he started talking about he got more into with his dad, and he's like talking more about his dad than like other stuff.
So the word emotional can be a variety of things. It could be like emotional, like I'm so proud of you, or emotional, like I'm so depressed. Are there some other words as a team we can think of to describe how he is in this book?
Lazy, like he doesn't really want to do anything. He's kind of depressed.
I don't think he's lazy.
No, but kind of chill.
There's a more specific word that builds on those connotations that I think you're trying to get. Can you get there, Mila? When you are like kind of lazy, you have no energy, and you don't want to see I think you have it in your vocabulary. When you go away from people and he doesn't want to go to school and he doesn't want to see anybody. Starts with a W. He's with
Oh, I was gonna say that's
like introverted. So I was gonna say he's withdrawn. He's started to pull himself away from society and from friends. And the only person who he's really connecting with is who? His dad's not there anymore, right?
Yeah, it's like Melanie.
Yeah, so Melanie is like his like link into the real world. Otherwise, he's just kind of lost in his memories of his dad. So I think you're right that like when he looks back on the adventures, you said he felt like adventures, but what were the feelings he was experiencing at the beginning of the story with the adventures with his father?
I think he was feeling kind of like still depressed. So he was like still depressed, and so the stories like they kind of seemed really
There was a lot of them, and he didn't talk a lot about his dad though. And there was just like in the beginning of the book, his dad was just kind of
Good, yeah?
and so like he's out of focus. We don't really know him. He's just this dad. That's just who he is. And then more towards the middle of the book, he kind of goes like he kind of explains a little bit more, and then a lot closer to the end, he explains the actual story of how his dad died.
no, that's until that point. Until the
And this is when he actually, so the chapter before, on 147, he starts to tell us, but then he says, no, I'm so sorry, I'm not ready to do this yet. Come back next chapter. And then in the next chapter, he actually tells him the story. So he starts, like, actually, but then towards the beginning of the book, he actually starts, like opening his eyes.
So it's taken him a long time to get to this point.
Yeah.
So actually, I would love to talk more about some of the realism in the book and the way what you just cited. So if you could actually dog ear the page we were just at, so chapter 53, go ahead and dog ear that. This book, part of the reason why I chose it for this group is because the vocabulary, yeah, it's not that challenging, but the structure of the book is very, very challenging. So when I'm asking you how the character changed, that's one question. But when I'm asking you about the book and like the structure of a book, that's another. Because in this book we have so much time jumping, right, with his memories and his father. So I think, Jordan, you were definitely onto something with there's this like happier tone of adventures with the character. He looks back at his old self. But then currently this character is getting more and more emotional. But the way we see it playing out in the book is not happy chapters, sad chapters. It's like happy, sad, all these moments mixed together. So there's the character, but then there's also the book. And in the book, I think you're right that you get this like fuzzier image of the father, and it becomes more and more present. And he doesn't want to confront it, but he ultimately does.
When you have a camera and you're like turning the knob because it's super out of focus, and then it gets clearer and clearer.
And so he keeps, what do you notice him doing as the book goes on and on and on? He keeps saying, hey reader. What does he say to the reader?
He's kind of like telling us what things like about life and like memories, like many memories and some other like he's just like saying a lot of his memories, like fun memories and it's like sad memories, like kind of like brings him out and then will like kind of makes him sad.
But like, let's go ahead and open up to that page we just dog here. Because this is kind of what I'm trying to get at. So he does this more and more as we get closer to the end. So this week, I want you to be on the lookout as you read. 15:30. Jordan, can you go ahead and read this first?
It was a June day, crazy with sunlight. The call from the airline came out about 3 in the afternoon. Mom, Derek, and I were in the kitchen. No, sorry, I'm not ready to do this yet. Come back next chapter.
So, Hera, what do you think about that? Like, what is he doing to the reader?
He's kind of like cutting off parts, so it's like later than. It's like a page that just says like later than, and then like.